This video is brought to you by Surfshark. Stick around to hear more about the discount that they are providing to our community. Today's topic has taken me a long time to address because the concept is extremely troubling. In the past, I've done videos about cancel culture or mob justice, expressing my belief that it is a fundamentally harmful premise when allowed to fester and grow. Today, however, I want to take one step further, a step that many shy away from, and make the assertion that modern social media behavior and the pursuit of social reform, justice, and equality as they exist today in these contexts are on the verge of literally tearing down the scaffolding of life as we know it through vicious, arbitrary, and often insidiously maligned anger. To preface things, I want to explore the definitions of truth and justice. These are words that do not need a precursor. Truth and justice are immutable descriptors which exist on their own. They do not need to be modified. Saying mob justice is a degradation of the word. Things like your truth or my truth are an implicit transformation of the concept, which pollutes the original value. To say social justice is to imply that justice is not adequate on its own, and to say my truth is to imply that it is something other than the truth. Truth never damages a cause that is just. Mahatma Gandhi said this, and I believe it perfectly exemplifies the necessary standard of allowing these terms to exist in their natural state instead of modifying them with egoist intentions. My truth and social justice as they exist today are dangerous and acidic to the most basic and foundational aspects of a free and stable society. So why am I making the video now? The answer is extremely complicated, but there are three main reasons. First, certain relitigated allegations, nearly a decade old, by the way, of sexual misconduct in the gaming industry. Second, the ongoing civil unrest in America. And third, the effect that these things have when we recognize just how vindictive the mob can be, when they attach themselves to a cause and block out all counteracting points of view. First up is Anita Sarkeesian and Cards Against Humanity founder Max Temkin. In truth, he is not the founder of the game. He's merely one of 8 original members who created the game, from what I could find at least, and simply happened to be more vocal and outspoken than the rest. Regardless, June 8th, 2020, Anita Sarkeesian, a controversial figure in the gaming industry, came out with a lengthy explanation into her personal mindset as she publicly announces an abrupt end to her personal and professional relationship with Mr. Temkin on the basis of his sexual impropriety. The essay was made public on Medium and included some key admissions. First, Anita Sarkeesian admits that she was aware of these allegations for many years. She knew full well that certain female employees and coworkers had come forward with various claims, but she continued to associate with him regardless. At certain points, she describes staying at his home, working closely with him in the studio, and other interpersonal activities that indicate a lack of indignation or action. These accusations, as it turns out, have been common knowledge in the industry for many years. As far back as 2014, Max Temkin himself created a blog post which outlines in detail the circumstances surrounding the claims, and he categorically denies them on the basis that they are completely untrue and manufactured. This was also a story widely covered by media publications such as Kotaku, Slate, and even mentioned in the Washington Post. The claims made were not low profile, they were not under the radar, and they almost immediately resulted in the dismissal of Max Temkin from a Berkeley Forum event. In 2014, he effectively got canceled. Now, I'm not here to argue his innocence or his guilt. It could be either. I don't know the truth here. I merely know what was accused, and that he subsequently and fully denied it. However, what is far more important is how Anita Sarkeesian knew of these events and conducted herself in the interim. During a charity event put on by Feminist Frequency, which is Anita Sarkeesian's nonprofit organization, Max Temkin apparently donated $25,000 to the initiative. In 2017, Feminist Frequency attended a fundraising event put on by Cards Against Humanity in Chicago, where some incredibly generous people, as per their own words, donated to the foundation. The bottom line is that Anita Sarkeesian was well aware of these events for many years, while simultaneously accepting large amounts of money and receiving influential industry assistance from Cards Against Humanity and Max Temkin himself, personally. This brings us, finally, to her Medium essay in 2020, where she condemns his actions and admits publicly that despite knowing, as everyone did, about these allegations, she continued to accept money and favors from him for upwards of 6 years, and is only now, for some reason, attempting to create a second cancel culture tidal wave against him, when the first, despite being unproven, had already resulted in tangible reputational and professional career damage more than half a decade ago. Before going any further, it's time for today's video sponsor. And before you skip, if you have any interest at all in a VPN, it's 85% off and 3 months free with code Echelon. But anyways, there are a lot of different reasons to use a VPN. Increased security, location changing, circumventing censorship, and even the ability to flip between countries, which can have different licensing deals on Netflix to see a whole bunch of different TV shows and movies that you might not otherwise be able to watch. Surfshark is clean, easy to use, consumer friendly, helps protect your IP, and also allows unlimited devices on a single account, which is excellent value. Use the link down below and enter code Echelon to get 85% off and 3 months free with your purchase. Back to the destruction of stable modern life and values. Another aspect to this resurgence in animosity towards Max Temkin is Theresa Stewart. Theresa Stewart claimed, as the first black queer employee at Cards Against Humanity, that she was treated in a horrible way. Right as Anita Sarkeesian made her public Medium post, Theresa Stewart crafted a thread on Twitter explaining the madness that had occurred in the Cards Against Humanity company Slack. Slack, for those that don't know, is just a business communication and community development tool for grouping people together in order to work and discuss various topics. As a rough example, think of it as a different form of Discord. Her thread claims that after she asked for things to be organized differently in one of the channels, everyone piled on her and harassed her while being racist. But if you actually look at what she has provided for screenshots, you will see things like the following. Thanks, Trin. There's over 100 people who have been using this together for about 5 years. We're probably not going to make any dramatic changes immediately, but I'm open to respectful suggestions about ways to improve Slack. Let's stop arguing about it here. This right here, that harmless message, is what she claims as an inception point for others to be racist and pile on. But if you look at that piling on, it's even more trivial. She claims to have been made fun of in other channels, while one user apologized to her directly, but the screenshots do not show malicious and brutal ridicule. They show nothing. There is a slight passing comment about tweeting something that might come off as passive-aggressive, but the person decided not to post it and didn't even do it. There is completely innocuous discussion of renaming the channel so it can be recognized better for what it is, but nothing there is making fun of her truly, and none of it is brutal harassment. Theresa Stewart goes on to shame her fellow employees for not being brave enough allies to defend her, when no perceivable situation required defense in any capacity, and the literal worst comment to be made was akin to, well, if you don't like how the channel is organized, you don't have to use it. And ultimately, she sent an email to the office manager reading as follows. Hey Nick, I want to address an issue that has been nagging me at the office since I've started, and I think now is the time to talk about it. I would appreciate if we could keep the conversation between us for now and figure out if there really is a plan of action or a way to move forward. So I'm not sure if you read/saw/heard what happened Friday, June 16th in the Slack Some Office channel. Long story short, I made a simple and polite request for using threading in the channel when possible. My thinking is that sometimes important things get buried in the channel when extremely large tangents happen, and I thought I would ask if we could try doing it if we remember. What followed happened so swiftly that I was shocked. Someone replied to the message in an aggressive manner. Having seen the reply from her own thread, we know full well it was not aggressive at all. Feeling empowered to be rude to me in the request I made. The response was essentially, if you don't like what is going on here, then you can leave. People began to pile on to the message, confirming his point, all while being aggressive about it. Behind the scenes of the main channel, this person sent me an insincere apology while also sending direct messages to others essentially making fun of me for making the request and talking about me/the request without saying my name in channels this person knew I was not in. This is where I completely fall off the rails because what she showed was completely insignificant. It was two people having the most minor confrontation possible, and she then claimed some sort of brutal harassment and dogpiling to publicly attempt and cancel them. It's like the most trivial high school drama where a friend complains to another friend about a tiny interaction, does not even use their name, just says, oh, I was kind of annoyed today, someone kind of got on my nerves, and then she turns it into a massive confrontation to try and ruin livelihoods and drum up another so-and-so is over party on Twitter. It's despicable behavior. She goes on to say, I can understand why all of this might seem innocuous, but it is indicative of a larger issue about how race and gender dynamics play out and are compounded in the office. I was essentially attacked on this very public forum, and no one said anything to the aggressor about his behavior. As a result, I was treated as being the issue, and since it has happened, people I thought I had friendly working relationships with will no longer speak to me or look at me. I feel like I am being ostracized in the office, and to be honest, I have been feeling this way for months. This is the core of the issue here. She feels like people don't like her because maybe people don't like her. That is not wrong. That is not actionable. That is not unjust. If people don't like you, they don't have to. However, the simple social construct of popularity is now being weaponized, because if you even perceive someone as not really liking you or making a singular snarky comment, it is becoming grounds to try and create a hate movement online to cancel their future and impact their employers. Brushing aside the fact that Cards Against Humanity is best known for being offensive and the absurd correlation jokes it can be used to create, what we can see here is a person who has become so vindictively self-centered. Anyone who speaks with anything less than reverence towards them is called a racist and degraded for piling on or harassing. This whole scenario is absurd but highly dangerous. These movements quite often get actual tangible results. Calling employers en masse can get specific individuals fired. It can cause future lack of opportunity for them, and it can hurt establishments, which then suffer and in turn harms a network of subsequently dependent families and workers. The idea of a mob enacting social justice upon someone who was not polite enough, it seems like satire. It really does. It should not be like this, but it is real, and it is becoming increasingly common. Anita Sarkeesian accepting donations from a prominent gaming industry figure for many years, while known allegations existed only to drum them up again ages later with the goal of publicly dragging his reputation through the mud, while others pile on, and that is the correct usage of the term, in order to berate the company he co-founded, is the definition of malicious behavior. Social justice is a polluted phantom of what the concept should be, because it is not justice anymore, it has been perverted and warped into something else. That, however, is just the first example, and also the least alarming. The next issue is entertainment media backlash in light of current social controversy. There is a very important term to understand before going any further. Entartete Kunst. Entartete Kunst is a German phrase meaning degenerate art, which was widely used in the 1920s during the lead-up to World War II. Under the dictatorship of Adolf Hitler, this term referred to many types of modern art and was used as a parameter to shut down and prevent teachers, professors, and artists from producing their work or teaching certain material. This was accompanied by book burnings, which were a symbolic and practical manifestation of controlling opinion and expression. These are widely regarded now as atrocities, but I want to draw attention to a seemingly unrelated but all too correlated series of events in modern America. As anger and resentment continues to be demonstrated across the nation, there are serious calls for media programming to be changed. The easiest examples are Cops and Live PD, which are television shows that were abruptly canceled after directed public outrage campaigns following anger over police brutality in recent weeks. These might seem like an understandable casualty of public unrest. I already believe with absolute clarity that this is too far, allowing a mob to dictate in the heat of its adrenaline-fueled rage, amplified by the reach and power of social media, is a viciously unhealthy state of affairs, but these two shows are easier to brush aside. However, it isn't stopping there. There are also outraged cries for all positive depictions of police to be destroyed. People are even tearing down statues across the country because tertiary events relate them to slavery, in a historical time period when the reality of slavery was an inescapable part of society. This is a hate-fueled mob, destroying what they can of a certain historical period that has ties to our national origin. The events of that time might be beyond the pale of any ethical and moral standards today, obviously, but history must always be preserved and understood. Drawing another comparison back to the idea of entertainment, with a call for all positive imagery of police to be destroyed, a children's television cartoon called Paw Patrol is now being targeted. Entartete Kunst. This is media, artistic imagery, and entertainment programming being destroyed. And just because there is no physical manifestation of that culture, it's not a burnable book, the idea of purging any and all positive imagery of police, even when that media or material is completely unrelated in any conceivable form to police brutality of any kind, such as a fluffy cartoon puppy who says Chase is on the case and has fun with his canine friends, it is the modern equivalent of book burning. Those that throw books in the flames know that they are doing the right thing. They know that this is required to make a better world. But the Soviet Union on April 25th, 1986, they knew that an RBMK nuclear reactor could not explode. 24 hours later, Chernobyl made history and devastated half a continent. The modern youth of America and those that placate or cater to them are allowing a group of people to know that what they are doing is just, while seeking to destroy anything and anyone that makes them uncomfortable, disagrees with their opinion, or refuses to conform to their narrow and confident views of the world. Not only that, but they seek to remove and destroy imagery that depicts what they hate as anything other than vicious and brutal. World War II propaganda on the part of nearly every operational country in the effort on either side would show their enemy as vile and disgusting, while obliterating whatever positive or sympathetic perspectives existed, however few, that might show a different light. It is not possible to commit egregious and horrific acts of violence against a particular group with extreme prejudice when your enemy is humanized. Likewise, it is not possible to destroy the entire concept of law enforcement if the actual value of police is allowed to exist and be shown. The modern societal push for politically correct speech and personal emotional safety has metastasized. When the prime directive of a movement is to prevent something from happening or existing entirely, the extremes they need to go to in order to execute that goal will only ever become increasingly severe. In the face of a group that will never cease to exist, contrary to the underlying goal of eradicating racism, which unfortunately will exist and has existed in some capacity since the dawn of time, owing to tribal conflict and groupthink, or simply put, us versus them, which is a phase of social behavior we have not and might never evolve out of as a human race. But in the face of that reality, crushing something which can be hidden, concealed, modified, or changed, and worse yet, as per the definitions by their very own movement, things like implicit bias or unconscious racism, annihilating those feelings, not just the actual governmental, employment, and societal systems which display prejudicial behavior, will require brutal, totalitarian methods. It's possible for feelings to change. We should all be trying to do so for the betterment of ourselves and our peers every single day, but destroying any positive representation of a specific group in the United States, a group that contains over 800,000 people, is without question too far, repeating events that have inexorably led to atrocity all too often throughout history. Those within any given movement are often blind to its flaws. The movement we see today in the United States is going, and I know that this is going to be controversial, but I see no other way to say it. The movement we see today is starting to go too far, and lines are being crossed which any student of history and free thinker will know should not be crossed. In the lead up to this video, I conducted a Twitter poll which centered on the idea of canceling someone for allegations from many years ago. I constructed the wording very deliberately. The three choices were yes, they deserve it, no, people grow and learn, and only if proven completely. Nearly 4% as of the writing of this script believe that yes, an allegation of a crime from many years ago provides moral grounds to cancel and destroy someone's entire life and future. The answers so far include over 1,000 votes, and that will likely be many more by the time this video comes out. So extracting 4%, that is 40 people, who are in favor of hearing an allegation and then attempting to ruin the person's world. This is horrific and alarming. It's easier to defend when the context involves a horrendous crime, but the transition is being witnessed each and every day from horrible, unethical, and immoral acts to simple sarcastic jabs or the most minor disagreements, which are then blown up as some disgusting and abhorrent action, while the victim, so-called victim, huge air quotes around that, attempt to ruin the livelihood of their so-called aggressor, and even the business prospects of their employer. It's all gone too far. Entartete Kunst, sweeping generalizations of a profession that contains over 800,000 unique people, attempting to weaponize mob rule with long-lasting consequences because of the most petty and insignificant interpersonal conflicts imaginable. If we examine history, these are precursors to atrocity on a scale that no one wants to see realized. We live in a time where simply speaking up as a devil's advocate can be dangerous if you disagree with the ravenous mob, but now more than ever, it is necessary. That's it for today. My truth, social justice, and political correctness are a disease. We should all treat each other with respect, absolutely, but your right to respect does not supersede the rights of hundreds of thousands of others to live in safety, rather than fearing the retribution of a self-aggrandizing mob executing social punishments on anyone who is accused, should they ever make a single mistake or have a minor disagreement. Totalitarian efforts to make sure everyone is safe all the time result in a lack of safety for everyone. If you want to support, there are links down below: merch, Patreon, Twitter, other social media, another gaming YouTuber to support as well, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.